Yo. Oh, yes. Today we're going to be writing some software. And we're going to be writing it in my favorite programming language, C Sharp. Now, there's a specific reason I love this language because it has pretty much a little bit of everything. Object-oriented programming to organize your code, makes your code a little bit better to organize. It has properties, which is a part of object-oriented programming. It has generics, which allow you to make lists easier, make lists 1,000 times easier than doing arrays. It has one of my favorites, the Lambda expression. Oh, I love the Lambda expression. More on that later. It has it also has async await, which has more to do with threading and getting tasks done efficiently. And finally, my other personal favorite has tuples. We won't be going over what tuples does right now, but let's just say, for those of you who do know what programming is, let's just say tuples is a return method on steroids. And it's very powerful once you get used to it. So, now let's go over the basic types you'll be working with C Sharp. Particularly in this video, some of the types at least. We got the string type, which represents pretty much text that you want the user to see. We have integer. We have the integer type, which represents a whole number. Now, for those of you who haven't been in math class, a whole numbers are those nice, pretty numbers that everybody wants you to look at. There's no decimals. It's just a whole number. Case in point, my int. In the example of my int, the number 10. But then we have the double, decimal, and floating type numbers. These represent real numbers. Real numbers are what we have to deal with in the real world, the stuff we use to really measure stuff. You have the double, 2.5. You got the decimal, 34.45, and the M at the end represents the decimal. I do not have an example of a float on this slide, but float can be a decimal too. Just put an F at the end. This is part of the C Sharp syntax. When you see the example, it's part of the C Sharp syntax. And last for this video at least, we have the Boolean, which represents true or false. Something can be true, something can be false. Depends on what you're doing. All right, let's talk about conditional statements. We have the if, else, and else if. If something equals true, then do something. Else, if something is not true, do something else. If some other condition you come up with that you put an if in a statement, do something. The for statements is for a list. This is the old school way of doing the for statement, and it counts how many items you want to go down into the list. But as you can see on the second slide, this is the for each statement we'll probably mostly be using because it just lets you go through the whole list without knowing the count and lets you do what you need to do with that list. And it's what we call loop. It does it for each item in the list and or array depending on what you're working with. Then we have the switch statement, which is kind of an advanced if else then statement. It allows you to do things on a case-by-case basis depending on what you're working with. All right. Now, that's the last slide I have. You know what? Talk is cheap. It's time for me to show you some code in action. All right, folks, let us write some code. Now, as you can see, I already have this document set up, and we are going to write line this is my code. After that, we're going to put a read line, and we are going to save this. And now we're going to pull up our new terminal. And as you can see right here, we are going to type .NET run. And let's see what happens. And as you can see, it prints out, this is my code. That's it. And it goes back to what the terminal usually does. Now, let's add to this a little bit. Let's say string str equals this is my string, and let's add integer. My int is going to equal 37, my age. Now, let us write this out so for it to be seen. Write line. Gonna make it a little fancy here. We're gonna add a little line here. Semicolon. Always watch your syntax. Write line. Just gonna put str. And understand that the write line does take a string, so we're going to add a special character here. We're going to add the $sign here, and we're going to say my age is 30 is my int. And we're going to put the semicolon here, and we're going to save this. And we're going to go back to our terminal. .NET run. And there you go. This is my code. This is my string. My age is 37. This is just a little taste of what C# can do.